Welcome to Broken Thoughts. I am your host, Rob Many. We are here to talk tonight about UFC 189, hailing from the great state of Nevada, from the city, Las Vegas, the Sin City, fight capital of the world. We are here to mostly talk about the main event tonight, Conor McGregor versus Chad Mendes. Also here to talk about the semi-main event of Rory and Robbie Lawler. I mean, in my personal opinion, Lawler and Rory really should have been the main event. Um, just from status, longevity, etc. And it for being an actual real world title match. But was it meant to be? Conor has clearly made other fans notice that, hey, you're willing to talk a little bit, willing to provide a little showmanship, and we're willing to put you in a spot. To be honest, he deserved the main event slot, considering that so many fans that were coming out specifically to support him are the ones that bought tickets for this event. Allegedly sold out, very short, few minutes. I was listening to the build-up all week long, trying to figure out if there was any other fights that I was interested in. The two big main event fights were enough to sell me. I had decided way in advance that I was going to buy tonight's pay-per-view. But then I was just trying to figure out what else was on the card. I was hearing about Almeida, and I was hearing about Matt Brown, and I was hearing about all these other fights, and I was kind of like, oh, cool. So it's like a top from bottom to the top level card where every fight is pretty strong. It at least has some kind of substance, not just strictly for just a one match kind of card that sometimes UFC throws out there. So I was really super pumped about that. So I'm going to hit the really big parts, and then I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the other matches on the main card. I'm not going to hit any of the pre-fights because from what I heard, it wasn't really all that good. And I got to be honest, I really didn't watch them because I was sleeping. I was napping for the main event. I normally don't do that, but I don't know. I was particularly tired today. So let's start off with the top. Main event for the interim featherweight championship. Jose Aldo suffered some sort of rib injury and had to bow out of the fight. So Chad Mendes, 2 weeks out, gets put in. Conor McGregor's like, sure, I'll fight anybody. And we get a fight for the interim belt. There was some controversy going into the weigh-in. Nobody was completely sure whether or not Conor was going to make weight. Supposedly he was 25 pounds overweight. Came in on weight. So we get a title fight. It was really, really interesting because a lot of experts were saying, the type of fight that they didn't know if Conor could really handle was a wrestler. Well, that's exactly the type of fight we got here. It was pretty simple. Chad Mendes was going to test that theory from the experts. I'm going to take you down as often as I can, and I'm going to beat the shit out of you while I got you down. And what was interesting is right off the start, I felt like Conor McGregor was a little bit nervous. The way he handled his nervousness was just to come out guns blazing. I've never seen anybody else ever do this. This is completely the way I would fight. And I thought for sure Conor was going to get knocked out doing this shit. He runs across the cage and just throws a spinning back kick right into Chad Mendes' gut. I couldn't believe he actually nailed that shit. And from there, he tagged him with a couple body shots. And for whatever reason, Mendes was slow and moving and wasn't immediately going to takedowns. Rogan's theory, I value his opinion. I know some people don't like him, but he's a real student of the game. So I'm going to go ahead and believe him on this one. He felt like the body shots right in the open kind of slowed Mendes down. It was the reason that Mendes wasn't really moving as much throughout the fight. And right from the start, Mendes wasn't doing his takedowns, and it was pretty much dominated by Connor's striking. His boxing looked really clean. His kicks were really running smooth. He had Mendes hurt several times in the opening round. But then it kind of seemed like in round 2, Mendes kind of got his shit together and would just start taking Connor down. He did land a takedown at the end of round 1, but in round 2 he basically took him down and started raining elbows and kind of broke Connor open. But I give credit where credit is due, people. I know you don't like Connor, but he showed some really good ground game. I mean, Chad Mendes' wrestling is like the best in UFC, in my opinion. I mean, I've seen a lot of good wrestlers, but I really do think he is the best. He can pretty much take anybody down. And Connor stuffed a lot of his takedown attempts. He just didn't stuff enough. He didn't stuff all of them. And it looked like Mendes was going to take the fight. It really did. But then, whether it's accumulation of the body blows or whatever, his pace just wasn't there. I don't know if it was maybe the 2-week build-up. He couldn't get his cardio quite where it normally is, because Chad Mendes is usually a cardio machine. But he just looked a little bit slower, and Connor started connecting again, and then he hit a 2-punch combo. One and with this hand, and Mendes kind of went like this, and he came in. I mean, he got full extension right on the button, lights out. That was it. Your new featherweight champion of the world is Conor McGregor. I was so excited. I'm a fan of his, so I mean, I was running around my house. I was screaming. I was crying. It was really surprising, though. As soon as he won, I mean, the crowd just went nuts. I mean, Las Vegas was basically Little Dublin, and they just went berserk. But what was really surprising, if you ask me, is Conor was really humble in the post-fight interview. And Mendes really went over to, congratulate him. It was really good sport. I was kind of surprised by that, because I felt like Chad Mendes really didn't like Conor. But I guess when you get knocked out by somebody, you got to kind of appreciate what it is that they do. So, despite all the experts, despite all the predictions, Conor goes out and wins a fight against a predominantly centered wrestler. Mendes is a little bit more than just a pure wrestler, but still, I mean, he wrestled, in my opinion, one of the better wrestlers in UFC and won. So I don't know where the people who don't like Conor are going to hide now. I'm guessing, I saw a couple of tweets about it being fixed, etc., etc. So I'm sure that's where they'll hide, but it was a really good fight. It was exactly the two styles that everybody thought they were going to bring. Mendes wanted none of Conor's stand-up. Was intent on grinding out a win here tonight. But Conor found his way to his feet and made him pay. It was a really good fight. On to the semi-main event. In my opinion, a lot of people are going to cite this as the fight of the night. I disagree. But I can't fault you for it, because it was a really good fight. Robbie Lawler versus Rory MacDonald for the welterweight championship of the world. Lawler coming in as champion. He has fought Rory before. What was weird is throughout the night, the fight card was fantastic, which I'll get on to later. But these two came out, despite fighting each other before, tentative. Both just kind of basically spent all of round 1 just dancing around each other, looking for openings, and just having a fainting war. Then about a minute into round 2, they started letting the hands fly. Then at the beginning of round 3, they kind of went back into tentative mode. It's a weird fight for a little bit. But then from there, all out, like action. At some point early in the fight, Lawler, I'm guessing, broke Rory MacDonald's nose. and from there just punished his face. To the point where prior to the start of round 5, they showed both men's faces. Lawler was red and puffy, and he had a mouse over this eye. But Rory's face, my God. He had a busted hole in his nose, like right here. He's bleeding out of the nose. He's bleeding from the mouth, because, I mean, all you could see was red in his mouth. And both eyes were starting to swell shut. Yeah, Robbie Lawler fucked his shit up. It was a really interesting fight. A lot of people felt like Rory MacDonald won round 1, but there was really no action. In my opinion, if you're the champion, the challenger has to come out and definitively best you in a round in order to win the round. That's my view of it, so I looked at it as 1-0 Lawler. Lawler came out, won round 2 pretty clearly. His stand-up was looking really sharp. It didn't look like Rory had a lot. But then Rory won round 3 and 4, in my opinion, despite taking a lot of damage. And despite just being a crimson mass. At some point in round 3, Rory actually busted Lawler open. Looked like on the side of the face somewhere. So both men are bleeding. It's been a really exciting fight, despite the slow beginning. It was kind of like a crescendo, is what it was. It was kind of slow, and then boom! Round 3, it took off. And round 5, they came out. You know, it was championship or nothing for Rory. And, man, round 4, he was so close to finishing Lawler. I mean, he was so close. He had Lawler on the... I forget if it was round 3 or 4. I'm pretty sure it was round 4. He had him so close to the ropes that... I believe it was Big John, was standing over, and Lawler looked over, mid like getting his ass beat, and said, "I'm fine, back the fuck off." But Lawler, I gotta give him credit, man. He was such a man. He just weathered the storm, and it literally looked like Rory was gonna take the belt, and we were gonna have a new champion for the 3rd time in like 2 years, which is crazy. It just goes to show you like that the welterweight division is just ridiculous. But we come out for round 5. Lawler just... all that damage to Rory's nose caught up to him. He just straight right to the nose. And you see like Rory's nose instantly kind of crunches up. And there was like a bone sticking out like right here. And he tries to go like this and like kind of, I'm guessing, put it back into place. Well, when he did that, he must have realized that his nose is basically gone, because it really wasn't that bad of a punch, and he really didn't knock him down with the momentum of the punch. Rory just kind of grabbed his nose and tried to fix it from what I looked like, and the pain of the nose and the repeated blows and trying to fix it and stuff like that was just too much for Rory, and he kind of like basically was like, "Alright, I'm done," and he just rolled over and basically quit. It was a really weird ending to a really good fight. Really wasn't super definitive, but I mean, people are going to say it's definitive because, I mean, if you beat somebody's nose so bad that you finally hit them in the nose again and they're just like, "Yeah, fuck that, I'm done," I guess it's a definitive end. But it was a really weird fight. It went the full gamut of reviews. I mean, I can understand why some people would be like, "I don't get why it's so great, why everybody's going so great." But I think a lot of people saw like the blood and the war that they were having towards the end, and that's what they're going to remember more than the slow beginning. It was a really entertaining fight. Robbie Lawler retains his championship, so that's pretty interesting. The rest of the story of the main card was this: if you did not buy UFC 189 tonight, I would recommend you doing so in the upcoming week, because tonight's event was top to bottom one of the most entertaining UFC events I've personally seen. Now, I'm not a long-time UFC fan, but I saw a lot of long-time UFC fans saying the same thing on Facebook and Twitter. So, I mean, the story of the night tonight was just about every fight at some point in time was nominated for Fight of the Night. Dana White's going to have difficulty figuring out who he's giving bonuses to because there was quite the story tonight. I think like the biggest fight to me from the undercard that you guys didn't see was Brad Pickett versus Thomas Almeida. Thomas Almeida was coming in undefeated. He was gonna go up against like a longtime veteran. We were gonna get to see whether or not 19-0 was real. And Pickett rocked him early. I mean, knocked him down. Then Thomas Almeida kind of came back and knocked him down. So both people kind of had a knockdown of each other, and it was going back and forth, all-out war, just throwing hands. It was really, in my opinion, the fight of the night. And it was just crazy. I mean, they were just exchanging. And then finally, and what can only be called the craziest flying knee in the history of mankind. Thomas Almeida, caught Pickett, I guess, coming in, and timed his knee just right to where he threw a knee clean to the chin. I mean, square. It's clean of a knee you'll ever see. It's on my Twitter. You can go to my Twitter at Rob the Many. And there's a vine of it if you didn't get a chance to see it. And the sound. I can't describe to you the sound, but I'm going to try. Picture a Major League Baseball player striking out and breaking his baseball bat over his leg. That's what it sounded like when his knee hit his chin. Another interesting fight was Gunnar Nelson, training partner of your main eventer, Conor McGregor versus Brandon Thatch. Basically, Gunnar knocked him down. I thought he had to win right there. I really did. I thought he was just going to back off and the referee was going to call it, but he followed him down to the ground, and I thought maybe that might come back to bite him in the butt. But apparently, according to Joe Rogan, his black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is like top of the class, top of the world type level. He said he was the best Brazilian black belt in the world, but Rogan tends to overstate these things. He said that about like 20 different people. But despite following him down to the ground when I don't think he really needed to, he finished Thatch with a rear naked choke. And that was that. It was pretty entertaining. They both exchanged hands, but Gunnar, I think on a big stage, proved that he might be somebody to watch. That he might deserve a really good shot at maybe the second or third ranked person in the welterweight division, which, depending on where you want to go, would be Rory, maybe somebody like that. I don't know. I mean, Rory would probably be the best matchup because he's going to be pushed down a little bit. And I still think Gunnar needs to fight somebody top of the class and beat them like that to earn a shot at Robbie. But I thought he was very impressive tonight. And the other fight was the featherweight belt. Number 8 ranked Dennis Bermudez, I believe is how it's pronounced. If it's not, I'm sorry. I'm a white, Caucasian, I'm American. I don't know how to pronounce fancy names. Versus Jeremy Stevens, who's ranked number 11 in the featherweight. So basically, this was to see whether or not somebody could push into the top 5. They might finish a little bit outside of that, but basically that's what it was. And these two, again, if somebody said this was the fight of the night, I have no good argument about it. It was really, really entertaining. I think I like revisiting it in my head. I know I gave it to the other fight, Pickett versus Almeida. I'm going to go ahead and change my mind. This was the fight of the night because these guys knocked each other down back and forth, I would say 3 times. Yeah. And the limited rounds that they did, both Dennis and Mr. Stevens knocked their opponent down several times. There was even one point where I believe it was Stevens hit his opponent so hard he knocked him across the octagon. It was ridiculous. And even more ridiculous, guess how the fight ended? That's right, a flying knee. After just a crazy fight, Stevens came in, just happened to catch his opponent right on the chin. It wasn't as clean as the Almeida Pickett knee. It was kind of up against the cage a little bit, and it wasn't quite as flush, but it did its job. It didn't knock him out immediately like Pickett got knocked out, but still, it was pretty fantastic finish. And at that point, everybody started sharing on Twitter like a bunch of knee related jokes and tweets and stuff like that. So I shared some of the ones that I found funny. So if you want to go back and try to relive that, you can. But it did kind of seem like people going into like the main event were like predicting for the fight to end a flying knee, because it was a crazy event tonight. There's 5 fights on the main card. The only other match that I watched was the Tim Means versus Matt Brown. I listened to an interview on MMA Junkie, and I felt like Tim Means kind of won me over, and I was kind of rooting for him, so I wanted to really watch this fight. Fortunately for him, it looked like he was going to go toe-to-toe with Matt Brown. He was going to win. He was doing really well. He was doing the striking. He was hurting Matt Brown, which Matt Brown doesn't get hurt very often standing. But then, somewhere in the fight, there was a moment where Tim Means went for a takedown, really stuck his neck out there, and Matt Brown got him in a guillotine. And Rogan said he needs to stop sticking his neck out so far, because Means got out of it. It was a foreshadowing. It was kind of weird. Means was rocking Matt Brown, but then Matt Brown caught him with a quick elbow. And it was a nice, clean elbow, Muay Thai, And Means was kind of thrown back a little bit and kind of trying to gather himself, try to pull back and gather himself to go forward. And out of that, Brown just pounced, grabbed his open neck, got him in a guillotine, and just choked his ass out. It was a really kind of heartbreaking loss. I felt bad for Means because he made just a simple little mistake, that he opened himself so much after that shot that he opened himself for a guillotine, but that's MMA, man. I was kind of rooting for Means, but Matt Brown proves that he's the best. He's top 5 right now in his weight class, which is welterweight. Another person that maybe Gunnar Nelson can. He would have to be like 4. Then I don't know, but that's somebody maybe Gunnar Nelson could fight as well in the future. Mostly because they'd be in the same time frame. So tonight was really entertaining as far as the main card is concerned. I heard some complaints about the undercard, the pre-fight fights. But one thing's for sure, if you bought the pay-per-view for $50 on the UFC 189, you more than got your money's worth. Tonight was just fantastic fights. I really loved every minute of it. So glad. I went to work. I said, listen guys, please give me Saturdays off. I need to watch my UFC. And I got redeemed tonight. Even though I had to spend $50, even though I had to lose out on money at work, worth every penny for me to see Conor McGregor win the championship. It was just a fantastic show. I can't recommend you guys going out and watching this enough. I hope you, if you did watch it and you're just for whatever reason seeing like what I said about it, I hope you enjoy my commentary. I know there's a lot of new followers on Twitter. It happens every time. Anytime I live tweet UFC, for whatever reason, I get like 20 new followers. Apparently, they enjoy my commentary. I don't really do anything groundbreaking as far as like MMA commentary. I feel like I'm way better at being sarcastic, obnoxious, smartass during like wrestling events, but I don't get nearly the attention I do for MMA. I think that's just the power of UFC, I guess. So I'm hoping that that follower count will help boost this, and it will go from there. But yeah, I mean, UFC 189, just awesome. I'm really, really excited. Really, kind of don't want to go to bed. Really don't. I kind of want to just kind of watch. I think I might watch it again after I play a little video games, just to kind of sit back and just watch it. You know what I mean? Like, cause I was live tweeting during the event, and and then you get to see everything, like as it happened, and I would like to kind of go back and just sit back and enjoy it. But I want to thank you guys. My name is Rob the Many. You're watching Broken Thoughts. I call it that because I can talk about whatever the hell I feel like talking about. Tonight just so happens to be UFC. Thank you so much. You have a great night.